Hello, interwebs, and welcome to Close Up. I'm your co-host, Joe.
And I'm Ryan.
Today, Ryan and I reminisce on one of the best games ever made and its other installment. Of course, we mean The Last of Us Parts 1 and 2. Full spoilers ahead for both games, you've been warned.
You picked up the wrong disc.
What did I do wrong?
Oh, I'm trying my best not to make this the House of the Dragon episode, all right? I'm trying my best, and you're not helping.
Make it better. Let's fight the whole time. From this extreme long shot, we zoom into our medium shot. So tell me, Ryan, what's your history with the Last of Us franchise?
I remember when it came out, I was, again, Xbox kid. That didn't play it till last year, but I remember when it came out, always watched playthroughs of Last of Us, the part 1 and then part 2. So I like the story. I love Troy Baker. I love Ashley Johnston, I believe is her last name. Actually had the pleasure of meeting Troy Baker at Fan Expo, which was really awesome. And I'm excited. The reason we're doing this is because the show's about to come out in not this weekend, but next weekend as time of recording. And I'm pretty excited for it. You know, there's been a few criticisms, but I don't think you can really compare, you know. It's a trailer, and also I feel like it's going to be a little, not subtle, but I feel like if people keep comparing the acting talents of the live action actors and Troy Baker and Ashley, it's just they're not going to like it. But I feel like they have their own take on it, so it's going to be an adaptation, and you're literally talking about probably two of the best voice acting performances of all time. So there's going to be criticisms of it, but I feel like they need to take it with a grain of salt that it's going to be different. And also Pedro Pascal and the child actress, I don't know her name, but she was in Game of Thrones. They're both excellent actors. Yeah. So they're good choices.
Last of Us is a franchise I've heard about a lot over the last 10 years. It's one of those ones where anytime it comes up, you just get, oh, it's just so good. I never heard anyone say anything bad about the original. No, I never really have any. Nobody's ever said anything bad about the original that I've heard. It's pretty much generally considered a masterpiece, which is why we probably won't spend that long talking about it, because we want to argue more. We have a lot to say on part 2, trust me. That's such
a masterpiece. It's been remastered twice.
I was joking with Ryan the other night that it's basically Naughty Dog Skyrim. It's just going to get ported till the end of time.
It's true.
But yeah, I didn't play it when it first came out because I'm perpetually behind on video games. But I remember my PlayStation 4 came with Last of Us Remastered pre-installed on it.
So, what a steal.
Yeah. So I played that eventually. I don't remember when. I want to say 2015, 2016, somewhere in there. So it's been a long time since I played it. It's a little bit rusty in my mind, but I remember enough of it to talk about it. And I just played part 2 within the last year. I'm actually doing a New Game Plus playthrough of part 2 right now because I want that platinum. I got far enough in it that I'm going to get that platinum. I put it on very easy mode this time, very easy plus, with the cheat codes on, just breezing through it. It's nearly more fun that way. Oh yeah, it comes in after you beat the game and go into New Game Plus. It gives you these different options: one-hit kills, infinite crafting, your melee stuff doesn't break, unlimited ammo, one-shot kills. It's fantastic. Awesome. Yeah, it just makes the game way more fun. You can do all these other weird things with it too, which we can get more into when we talk about technical stuff about the game. We'll talk about technical stuff too. We got to talk about tech stuff.
No, I'm saying I did know about that. I didn't know about the cheat code stuff.
I see. So like Ryan said, we're doing this in anticipation for the new Last of Us TV show that's coming out, which I got high hopes for because I really think video game movies, I don't know if they really work. Because you're taking... Even a short video game is like 10 hours long. And that's really tough to condense into a 2-hour movie. I think a mini series or even a full-fledged TV show is the way to do video game adaptations to really immerse you in the world, especially for a story like The Last of Us, which is so beloved. If you have to condense that entire game into a movie, there'll be riots. There's no way to do it justice. So this is going to age perfectly well, but I have high hopes for this show, and I hope it'll do okay. Just looking at the trailers, the design for the clickers in particular was super.
They look so good.
You know?
They look spot on. Both Ashley and Troy are actually going to be in the show as like different characters.
Looking forward to seeing what they do. You said they're going to be characters, not cameos, right?
Yeah, they're not like actual cameos. They're going to be actual characters.
Awesome.
Or at least from what I could gather from clips, I don't want to spoil it for you, but it looks like Troy might be more of a character, and Ashley may. Well, that's just speculation, but they're going to be actual characters, which is fun because you don't really see. I think Ashley does more live action than Troy, but you don't really see Troy do a lot of live action stuff, which is going to be awesome to see.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll transfer just fine. He does the mocap work after all, so it'll just be like, what do you mean I get to act without crap on my face?
Without the spots, yeah. Without the spots.
How do I do this? Just like Andy Serkis probably feels literally any time he has to show his actual face. He's like,
You mean I don't have to go to the jungle for 3 months and study gorillas? Yes.
Wow. All right, so that brings us to our...
Everyone gets to do this?
You've been doing this? How you've been doing this for how long? I didn't know there was any other way to go.
Yeah. You don't have dual personality?
All right, that brings us to our close-up. So, let's talk about Last of Us. Probably the first one.
The first one?
Is a good place to start.
We just say it's great and move on.
It's great.
It's crazy because
what do you have to say about it that hasn't been said a million times, right?
Yeah, like I watched a playthrough years ago, and when I finally did my own playthrough, I was like, weirdly, I thought, I was expecting a bit more. But then I came to realization, no, this game was made in 2013, and I'm playing it in 2022, where it doesn't like, and to say basic is not the right word, but this is kind of the first time a medium, like a story medium happened like this, where, and there's been tons of like the father figure and the child go off in this adventure and they don't really like each other at first. But this is the first one to do it so well, and there's so many other projects that build off of The Last of Us and take from The Last of Us that you kind of know each story point that other mediums have done it, so you're just used to it. But this was the first one to really do it well, in my opinion, that I can remember in recent history.
It's such a simple, beautifully simple story. It's about a grieving father who lost his daughter, who ends up saddled with this kid, and they have to navigate
the ruins. Opening scene.
They got to navigate the ruins of the apocalypse together and have this kind of surrogate father-daughter relationship together. And that's basically the whole game. It's just this father-daughter relationship bonding in the ruins of America and facing trials along the way that you play through, but really at its core, it's this emotional story about found family and, you know, learning to open up again after traumas. And there's a lot of deep subject matter in this game, and it's more about how it makes you feel than the actual gameplay, which is why I think this show is
than the actual events. Yeah,
this show is ripe for an adaptation, because a lot of video games is more about the feeling of playing it. It's more, my skills, I'll decimate all these guys, I'll be able to headshot everybody, it's about playing it or going on side quests or whatever. But Last of Us is a very linear, story-driven adventure, which you told me before you watched this as a playthrough, right?
Yeah.
On the internet. I don't know how many games you could do that for. This game, you could just watch somebody play it through, and it's still just as good an experience. So it's a great backseat gaming experience, which
Mm-hmm.
isn't easy to come by because I think a lot of games get boring for people to just watch, especially if you just screwing around. But somebody playing The Last
Yeah.
of Us and doing well at it is just, well, it's a very high quality story experience in terms of writing, character development, acting. The mocap work by Ashley Johnson and Troy
Mm-hmm.
Baker is phenomenal. They created iconic characters, iconic moments. It's just a all around great story. Really, people see video games as kind of a lowbrow medium, but stories like The Last of Us elevate it to prove video games can tell stories worthy of any medium. It's an all-time great story, regardless of where it originated.
Yeah, I think it's so well done where it's like again, like what hasn't been said about it, where it's just a masterpiece in terms of acting, the gameplay, the production design, even when you can explore the different areas. There's little dialogue moments between Joel and Ellie and Triss that keep you invested in the story, and the clickers, not even like not the zombies themselves, because I think the zombies are just zombies, but the clickers themselves are just actually scary. Like they're scary to
Terrifying.
navigate. They're very difficult to fight, you know. Even when you think you're sneaking past them quietly, they'll jump at you, and it's insane, man. It's just a like, what else can you say about it? It's just a great game.
My favorite
That's
mechanic
the
in the
reason why it
game.
won Game of the Year.
My favorite mechanic in the game is the listening mechanic, where the
Mm-hmm.
stealth stuff, where you hear through the walls and you're trying to navigate because the clickers can't see, which is really interesting. I like that bit of lore in the game that the runners
Yeah.
can see you, but the clickers, if you're just quiet enough, you can sneak even right up in front of them before you stab them. But it's not easy. It sounds easy, but you have to have some skill to do that, which is pretty cool. So I just love the stealth. It's not just because it feels more realistic when you have all these creatures that are stronger than you, that are faster, more deadly. Most of the time, you're not just gonna run in guns blazing. It nearly plays like an
Mm-hmm.
RPG that way, where the way you're supposed to play it is more stealthy. Because it's also about ammo conservation too. That's a large part of the game is conserving your supplies, which adds to the feeling of this post-apocalyptic, desolate world. So every time you use a shiv on a clicker, something like that, you are like, do I want to go in this fight, waste all my ammo, my shivs? But if I get caught out and I need them for later, that could be important. So yeah, if I can avoid this fight, maybe let's just
Mm-hmm.
do that. And only fight when I got to.
Yeah, it's really funny with the conserving of the ammo because it's not like other games where you just have an endless supply or like 30 megs. It's like sometimes you'll have six, the most you'll ever get is like 13 bullets in the gun. So you have to really aim your shots well. And there's been some fights where I've done great and some fights where I've just depleted my ammo because I'm trying to do it stealthily and I think I hit him in the head, but it ends up I hit him in the shoulder and it's like, fuck. So
Yeah.
it's a great game for trying to like navigate through stealth, and then when everything goes to shit, it goes to shit.
That's one of my favorite things about, well, it's more in my mind for part 2 right now, and I'm sure part 1 had this as well. That's one of the best parts of
Mm.
Last of Us, is trying to be stealthy, then everything goes to crap and you go guns blazing until you can hide again.
Yeah.
That's so fun. Those are some of my favorite gameplay moments is when that happens and you actually successfully hide again, get around everybody, or try to take them out one by one again. Because I feel like in a lot of stealth games, once stealth is broken, it's broken. But The Last of Us lets you get back into stealth if you're hiding and quiet enough and you can listen. You can use the mechanics to your advantage that way. Avoid the
Hmm.
searches, which just adds a whole other layer to it.
Yeah, it's very good. And even a lot of like the side characters are really well done. Like Bill, when in that fortified town, he has his own story where you're trying to navigate through the town and you end up coming across his old partner and there's this great moment where he's just silent, and you think, was there possibility? I heard in their commentary track for it where the actor who played Bill played it as his partner in the town was also his lover at the same time. That's how he played it off as. I don't know if that's canon or not, but I just think it adds to the scene more. And it's great because in that scene, Joel doesn't really know how to calm him down or talk. Like, he doesn't know how to go through grief yet. Still after being in the apocalypse for 20 years.
He hasn't opened up yet. He just buries it.
Tommy, his brother. Yeah, Tommy, his brother's great in it. The Henry and Sam arc is tragic. Yeah, it's just, I don't have criticisms. Like, it really is, like, it's one of the greatest games of all time. It's insane.
Yeah, there's really
so
not a
great
lot
that they so great that they remastered it 6 years later for full price and people bought it. Like,
ridiculous.
Anytime I see it on sale, it's always like it's on sale for like $60. I'm still like, not yet.
Now, what I like about games like that are so infinitely replayable is that when you remaster them for modern times, I don't know, do they fix the controls? Do they make the controls more modern?
I think they said something like, I think they might have, they did the gameplay like it is in Last of Us Part 2, and the AI is smarter as well, so I think they fixed some things, yeah.
Okay, so I know there's a lot of people who might feel like, oh, you're George Lucasing it, you're redoing old things, just give us a port of the original. I'm like, you know what, if you want these things to survive, maybe tweak it a little bit, make it so somebody who just hopped on with The Last of Us Part 2, if you would ever do such a thing, could go back and enjoy The Last of Us Part 1 again with more modern control schemes. So it keeps it even more relevant. You don't want to go back to play a game that feels like a game from 10 years ago, even when the story holds up just fine. Sometimes that's a big problem with rediscovering old games, is that they feel like old games. You've had that too. You told me, what was it, Dishonored, was it?
It was Infamous.
Or Infamous.
Yeah, I was really disappointed. The controls felt very wonky, and which sucked because I love that story, because I watched, again, like, I had to watch playthroughs of PlayStation games growing up, so when going through that, I felt the aiming was off, but that's my own personal, like, I think it's still a good game, but yeah, and when I played Last of Us, I played the remastered version. I didn't play the original, so, because I think it was the only port that was available through the store.
Yeah. Like I said, remastered's what I played.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I think we're kind of stalling on The Last of Us, but yeah, it's a masterpiece. Said it a couple times already,
yeah, it's
but
great.
I'm going to repeat it. It's great. I think Last of Us 2 requires more discussion, though, because there's so much controversy around this thing. There's just more to talk about. It's more interesting than just endless praise, I think. So, yeah. I'm going to open up by saying that I think that Last of Us Part 2 is the closest equivalent I can think of to how this game goes, is The Last Jedi of the video game world.
Yep.
In that 25% of the fan base loathes it with a passion, 25% think it's one of the best things ever made, and the vast majority of people are just kind of ambivalent.
Yeah, man.
Ryan falls into that 25% that hates it. I fall into the 50% that's more ambivalent, sees some things to like, some things to criticize. So I guess on the whole, we're going to be skewing more negative, but I'm a devil's advocate kind of guy, so I'll counter Ryan's negativity as thoroughly as I can. It'll sound like I like the game more than I actually do, but I gotta offer that different perspective, because it does do a lot right, I think. It's just...
Oh, for sure.
It's just a... You want to talk about what it does more right, or do you just want to get into the arguing right away?
Yeah, we can do that.
You want to say, or you want to save what it does right for the nice stuff later, when we're like trying to make up, we can agree.
We can start now. It's fine.
Start with the nice stuff, or start with the arguing?
Start with the nice.
Start with the nice. This game is one of the most gorgeous I've ever played. Graphic-wise, just everything about it, just everything from
yeah,
like and I want to say it's photorealistic graphics exactly, but just the way the rain shimmers.
It's pretty close.
Yeah.
It's pretty close, yeah.
The way the rain shimmers off everything, the way the blood looks on the characters, just the snow, the roads cracking, the forests, the lights through the trees, the shadows. Mm-hmm. This game is an artistic masterpiece just from visuals. Now, maybe we can compare that to The Way of Water, where we had a very similar criticism about that. You can watch it with the sound turned off, watch it turned on, you're in for a bit more of a mixed experience. But if you just look at the world, it's gorgeous, really.
It's stunning. I had to pause a few times just to look around, just be like, damn, there's so much amazing detail that's in this, and it really shows off the capabilities of just 4K gaming or just high definition gaming as a whole. Especially on the snow. I couldn't get over like how it actually sparkles like real snow and how it tracks when Ellie is walking through the snow.
I also like that depending on your brightness settings, the snow looks a little blindingly white sometimes, which is pretty cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. I think when you do the adjustment screen at the beginning, the snow is supposed to look not quite blinding, but really, really bright. So, like, for example, when I'm doing my adjustment, it's supposed to say, well, this is supposed to be so bright, you can't really see this. This one's supposed to be so dark, you can't really see that. But then I just darkened it for fun, just to see what it would look like really dark. And the bright one was like a deer bleeding out in the snow. I'm like, oh, the way it's supposed to be, I can't even see that. Okay, maybe I should be playing darker, so I can see more.
Whenever that pops up, I always brighten it up a little bit. Like any game, it doesn't matter. I always brighten it up a little bit just because
I caved. I was playing the game a little too dark, and then I freaking had to brighten it up for the Rat King part, which murdered me. Because I'm like, I can't see. This whole battle is just me running away, and I can't freaking see.
Oh, is that the cult? Is he called the Rat King?
No, the Rat King's when Abby's in the basement of the hospital and she's trying to get the supplies, and then there's that thing that's just that abomination that attacks her.
Oh, I completely forgot about that.
Like, she can't really do anything. It takes 30 shots to take this thing down, and she just has to run around in the basement of the hospital. And it kind of clones itself, and like clickers jump off its body. It's like an amalgamation of bloaters and shamblers and clickers all together. It's disgusting.
Well, good thing they gave her the best guns then.
Yeah,
sorry,
but when I
talking about good things, we're talking about good things. Sorry.
When I played it, I had like a shot of flamethrower left.
Oh no!
All my ammo was gone. I know. All my good guns that you're talking about, I was out. I was out of ammo. This is what I was talking about earlier on when I'm like, you got to conserve the ammo. When I got to the Rat King, I had no good ammo left. So I got screwed.
What, just hit it with a crowbar?
No, you can't melee it.
Oh, no.
You can't melee it. It's all guns. Guns are nothing.
So you were fucked.
Oh, yeah. And remind me, and just so you know, I'm playing on hard mode.
Oh, fuck.
I play most games on hard mode. And you know what? I'll pat myself on the back. I didn't have to lower the difficulty for it. I beat it, fair and square.
Is this you calling me out because I said I had to lower the difficulty on one thing earlier?
No, I'm calling out Justin, too. I had this argument with him this morning. He criticizes me for playing games on hard mode, says I'm a masochist for it, which, yeah, I probably am.
It's true.
I don't play every game on hard.
What game did he lower the difficulty on?
He just plays on normal most of the time. He doesn't play Last of Us 2. Oh. Last of Us, he doesn't like the horror genre or suspense. It just stresses him out, and he's like,
neither do I, but the gameplay is just fun in the story itself.
Last of Us
Not this one.
Last of Us, the kind of story
the gameplay is.
Yeah, the gameplay. The gameplay I think is even better than the first one. It refined everything good about it and just turned it up. One thing you can
lie down. You can crouch better.
The prone is fantastic. One thing I don't know if I love or not is Ellie's knife. Because like I was saying about in the first one, the shivs are part of the conservation element of the game. You have to find the supplies, craft the shiv. It adds to the suspense. You're talking about Abby, for example. She's got all these great weapons, but she doesn't have unlimited use of shivs. She runs into clickers, has no bullets. She's a little bit screwed. Ellie can just keep slashing as long as you're really good.
Can't she just use her arm though? Can't she just choke out the clicker?
It depends. If not in a in a one-on-one scenario, you still get overwhelmed without at least a melee weapon.
I see.
But Ellie, as long as you're good with the dodge mechanic, you can just keep slashing forever. I took on so many runners with just my knife when I didn't want to use ammo, and I never thought like with Abby, for example, when I'm playing sneaky, it's pretty much guns blazing, or you have to find the crafting for the shivs. With Ellie, you can get into 3-on-1 fights with runners all the time and just be really good at the dodge mechanic. So, the game, I do think, incentivizes you to play stealthy as Ellie and guns blazing as Abby. But that also plays more into the characters, because Ellie is not really supposed to be in Seattle. She's kind of invading it on a revenge quest, and she doesn't have that many weapons, just whatever she can carry with her. Whereas Abby comes from this militaristic organization based in Seattle, and she goes to their bases for resupply a lot, and she's a former Firefly, she's a soldier, she's jacked, she's ripped. So, like, I understand just the way they character backgrounds.
Yeah, she's stealing food.
Yeah, I understand.
100% she's stealing food. She's too ripped.
Fair enough. I just understand from the way they're set up that why Abby has better weapons. Because that's just her background. She's a soldier, and she has access to more. Ellie's just got what she's got. She just gets what she can find. So it makes sense. Like, you kind of see it as a favoritism thing, but...
Kind of. I'm trying to be positive here. Well, I can understand their reasoning for it. It just kind of sucks that you can't use the best guns in the game with arguably the best character in the game. And I know
it's a machine gun.
Like it's a creative choice.
In the last
she only
level.
gets it near the end. Yeah, but in the end. So that's what sucks about it.
I think it's kind of the way games work, though, is
if Ellie got an assault rifle, that would be good. I feel like
but the problem is that's not how you're supposed to really play Ellie. She's supposed to be sneaking around more, trying to find out information on the WLF and people. Like, she's not going, like, she's just one person sneaking around a hostile territory with clickers and the WLF and the Seraphites. Yeah. Everybody's on her ass. So it makes sense. She's got the bow and arrow, the knife she can use as much times as she wants, a sniper rifle, a couple handguns, some silencers if things go really bad. Whereas Abby is like flamethrowers.
The silencers is a nice touch for Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah, whereas Abby's like flamethrowers, machine guns, assault rifles, because like that's what she does. They're at the WLF are at war, and she's a part of that. So
I just think the ability to have the choice would have been nice. Or it'd be
maybe
like,
in a
no,
new
you have to play it like this. Because let's face it, there's a lot of people who hate stealth games and don't like being stealthy. And and there's a lot of people who won't play things as there's a lot of people I know who play Assassin's Creed not that stealthy. And it's like, well, that's the whole point of it. But they have the choice to not be that stealthy.
Yeah, and you can not be stealthy in Last of Us Part 2 as well, but you also, like I said, Abby and Ellie run the risk of running out of ammo. In both cases. Yeah. If anything, because Abby's more trigger happy, you're more likely to run out of ammo as her. Her stuff is good, but you still need to be careful when you use it. Especially later in the game.
Fair point. It gets the racking.
Yeah, but I do think it's partially, not just the character base, but I think it's also partially an escalation. Because games are supposed to get more intense as they go. Right? And I think Abby's sections personally are more tough than Ellie's sections because you're trying to keep that momentum going. You don't want to, like, it starts you back off at Seattle day one, but you don't want to feel like you're losing momentum. So things need to get more challenging. You need to feel more badass. So they give you better weapons, more challenging scenarios. It feels like forward momentum still from behind the scenes perspective. So I understand why they're doing it from that reasoning too. They don't want the player to feel like they're getting a downgrade. They want them to feel like they're getting more badass as the game goes, even though they're playing a different character. So it's about, keeping the momentum going is a large part of that.
Very true.
Graphics-wise, I think we should probably talk about the gore in this game, which is pretty controversial. A lot of people are very disturbed by the fact that, first of all, how many dogs you kill, or how people you kill shout out their teammates' names or whatever, and how they all seem like real people you're killing, and the death animations are so gory. Whenever you kill anyone,
which
it's bad. But whenever you die, it's
which I kind of like.
And I'm playing on hard, so I gotta see it over and over and over on brutal ways.
Adds a sense of realism to the world and to the game itself, so I kind of like it. But you bring up the dog thing, which is really funny, where as Ellie, you kill so many dogs. As Abby, you don't kill any. You actually get to play fetch with a dog.
Multiple
as
times.
long as you want. So,
well, Ellie
there's another favoritism.
She does pet a dog in Jackson in the very first day.
You can only do it once, but you have to kill like 15 dogs.
So Ellie's not a dog person. That's okay. But
she is a dog person. She pet the dog, but you have to kill them anyway.
Yeah, but I guess that's just the thing. The Seraphites don't have dogs. It's
Yeah, but the people who complain about gore, they just don't like it. So I can see why they don't like it, but it's not like it's gonna ruin someone's mind. The rating is there for a reason. If you can't handle that, then you can't handle that, and that's okay. But I think the gore adds a realism to the world, and
it just comes down.
There's some parts I thought were a little too crazy. Where, again, I have a problem with it story-wise, but when Abby is just beating the shit out of Ellie and beating the shit out of Dina, it's like, Jesus Christ. Like, that realism is fucking crazy, but that's what would happen if someone got the shit kicked out of them.
I also thought it was crazy, that scene when Ellie is beating the person to death with a crowbar. She's trying to interrogate them.
Yeah.
That one was pretty brutal.
Which is not as gory as like what other people think, because it makes you think you're pressing with every swing, but you only do it like twice, and then it goes into the cutscene of her doing the swings. But it reminded me of God of War 3. They do that POV shot a couple times.
Which, once again, moments like that are part of the point. I think the goriness of this game is going to get into a complicated point. I don't know how to make it in a few words. But this game is weird to me because it actually, in most games, mowing down swarms of enemies in settings like this makes you feel like a badass, makes you feel like you're awesome at the game. It's just arguably fun. It makes violence and gore and mass murder fun. Last of Us Part 2 makes it feel the toll of human life, especially
makes it feel like a chore.
Yeah, it not only feel like a chore, but it makes it feel wrong. Like, I should not be killing these people and enjoying it, even in a video game. It makes video game violence feel like real life violence. It kind of makes you feel like a sociopath as you're playing it because it's so realistic and gory. Which is, once again, this is why it's a complicated point for me, because it's both a criticism and a plus in my mind. It's a criticism because as a person playing the game, it makes it a slog, like you said. I'm like, I don't want to feel like a sociopath while I'm playing. I want to be able to have fun when I'm playing a video game. And all these deaths actually weighing on my conscience, that doesn't make it fun. That just makes it depressing, and I don't really want to play this game much more. I don't even really want to finish it because I'm not really having fun. I'm just being bombarded with depression for 30 hours. And that's just a part of it. The story does it no favors. The story is just constant depression too. But on the positive side, that's also part of the point. The huge death toll in this game is supposed to feel like you're becoming a monster because, like, Ellie is, and she's feeling it too. That scene with the crowbar, when she's beating the person, you feel it, she feels it, she regrets it. She feels like it's something she has to do, but even she recognizes her brutality is getting a little far. She's killed how many dozens of people just for her revenge quest? And in her mind, it's justified. Us as the player, we're still pissed at Joel's death. Everybody watching this game feels they want to go on this revenge quest too. But even after killing all these people, you feel it, like Ellie does, that like, yeah, maybe this is a bit excessive. Is this really worth it in the end? Is this quest, like, this quest doesn't feel fun. It doesn't feel fulfilling as a player or in Ellie's mind. The game is trying to make you empathize with Ellie and show you and make you feel how wrong this mass murder in the quest for revenge really is. Which is, once again, I just don't know how to feel about that because it makes its point so well. I know exactly what it's trying to do, and it does it so effectively because I feel exactly what it wants me to feel while I'm playing this game. But at the end of the day, it's a game and it's not fun. It just makes it hard to enjoy, but it's the point. So, yeah.
To kind of counter you a little bit, I never really felt bad for killing all those bunch of people as Ellie because I identified with her point of view and her drive to seek revenge for Joel. And the wolf people came at her first. You know, there was no, like, they shoot to kill or whatever. So in my eyes, they were more evil than Ellie was. So I never really felt sympathy for them, even though they were calling out each other's names. Because, I don't know, maybe I'm a little sociopathic myself, but it's just, I never really felt that. But I can see where other people would and see where they're coming from as well. But I never felt like it was fun to kill them. It just felt like a slog. Like you come from this, there's this one point in Ellie's playthrough where you go from section to section of different houses or different hotels, and you're just like, by like the third section, you're like, Jesus Christ, can we just get to the story? Like, why do I have to go through another section of people?
Yeah, that's true. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, the other reason I think this game feels like a depressing slog is just the weather. I know there was different points. There was, beginning, they're in Jackson, they're in the snow, they're in the forests, there's some nice days. The flashbacks look nice and sunny, maybe as a coping mechanism for the trauma. I don't know, they're just remembering their past more fondly. But I feel like 90% of this game is just dreary Seattle rain, just beating down on you, gray skies, concrete environment. Moments of beauty shine through on occasion, but most of it is just you're being rained on, killing people in really gory ways.
Going through mucky water.
Which I understand how that feels, because after playing that game for so long, I don't know what it's like for you in Toronto, but up where I'm at, I haven't seen the sun in 2 weeks. Today it popped out for half an hour, and all the guys at work were like, holy crap, we haven't seen the sun in 2 weeks.
No, it's still crap weather down here, sadly.
It's so bad. Like, I don't know if I've had it for so long just not seeing the sun, and it made me feel like The Last of Us Part 2. I'm like, that's what this reminds me of.
Well, it's been like raining the last week, and all the snow has been washed away. It's just shitty, muddy weather in the middle of December. And for people who don't believe in climate change, come up to Toronto right now.
I've never seen January.
You can totally tell.
I've never seen January this green. Not in my life.
This green or this warm. It's what? 3 degrees outside? It should be
zero.
minus 10 at least.
I don't think I've ever seen a January above zero for this consistent.
That's scary.
We're like a week in, and it hasn't really gone below zero. Maybe like a couple degrees down.
Scary.
But
that's like scary to think about.
Yeah, just within our lifetime.
Is it supposed to get colder anytime soon?
I think it's
not that much colder, man.
Yeah.
Like still above zero. God.
Yeah. Well,
we're all gonna burn to death.
Now it's time to get into the meat of it, I think. So we're talking about this depressing slog of a game. It all, at the root of it, comes down to the characters. and their stories. And so this game opens up nice enough, I think. You got, Joel and Tommy talking about Ellie. Oh, are we going to tell her after all what's going on? Their relationship isn't the best. We don't really know what happens. They set up, there's some tension between Joel and Ellie. We, the audience, realize, well, it's probably because she found out, or there's about his lie from the first game, or there's something going on between them. And then, yada, 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 Abby comes into Jackson, kills Joel. Tommy and Ellie vow a revenge quest. Tommy goes running off. Ellie takes Dina. Jesse follows them later, but they don't know that. And then, that's where their half of the story. And you want to talk about their half first, or just kind of bounce back and forth between them and Abby or whatever?
Well, to kind of like go through that, when Joel and Abby first meet, you're actually playing as Abby, and you don't really know why Abby is there. And as soon as you get through the sequence and they get back to their cabin or their lodge, Abby attacks Joel and effectively beats him to death. And then so that's when you realize that the whole game is just a revenge quest for Ellie to take revenge on Abby. And then it's Abby and Dina, who they're kind of in a relationship at this point, go through all of Seattle trying to track down Abby and her friends, because there was a group of them trying to take them off one by one. And the whole time Dina is talking to Ellie about, well, do you think Joel did the right thing? Or do you think, they had a point in it, whatever, which, yeah, I have my own criticisms about that. And then you get to the point, you get to that point where Jesse meets up with them, and then Tommy meets up with them. I'm just kind of breezing by it because I don't think this section really matters that much, in my opinion, until they finally meet up after Ellie kills Abby's ex and the pregnant lady. Like, I think all of her friends are dead at this point, and then Abby finds out where they are because fucking Ellie drops the map at like their home base of like, aquarium. Hey, this is where we're staying. Come find us, Abby, which is so dumb, but... And then Abby, Jesse's just starting to become, like, a real character, and then they run out into the door, then he's just dead for shock factor. And then you see her, they have the little confrontation there, but then it cuts back to Seattle Day 1, where we find where the rest of the game, and probably the majority of it, you play as Abby.
No, it's half. It's exactly half.
It feels longer. Anyway.
Actually, if anything, I think you play as Ellie longer, because you play as Ellie for that first bit.
Because play her at the end, yeah.
Yeah. So technically Ellie gets a little bit more than half, but
it just feels a bit longer.
Yeah. Well, the first thing, I think, the elephant in the room is Joel's death, which, you know what, I came into this game late, like a year late or so, and I didn't get it spoiled outright that Joel was going to get killed in the game. But also I knew this game was heavily controversial right from the get-go. And I'm like, I don't know Joel's going to die, but I'm pretty sure Joel's going to die. So I had that already in the back of my mind. I'm just like, okay, how is it going to go down? How much is this going to piss me off? So by the time I played the game, I'd already worked through a lot of the disappointment and rage that came with that shocking moment that pissed a lot of people off who played in real time. So that's maybe why I come at it a little more different than you might. I don't know if you got it spoiled or not. Or even...
Well, I watched it for the playthrough, so...
Yeah, so you had it in real time.
It wasn't spoiled, but I had the linear thing.
Yeah, so I didn't get it spoiled, but I kind of knew what was happening. So I worked through it on my own time. So when I saw it happen, yeah, it was very shocking, and it was very upsetting because Joel's a great character from the first game, and it immediately puts you on Ellie's side for sure, and like I said, it makes you want to do this revenge quest, and you're fully locked into the game. Now, I know you talked about your criticism before about how a lot of this game asks the question, well, was Joel really that good a guy? Did he do a wrong thing by saving Ellie? You've talked about that before, right?
Yeah, well, my criticism about the conversations between Dina and Ellie is that Dina constantly criticizes Joel and never backs him up. And it's like, wait, why are you here? It's like, we're going on this revenge quest for Joel, but you're here to make us feel guilty about going after Joel because he killed all these people to save me. So that's the one part about Dina's character I didn't really like.
I don't think Dina really... That was more Ellie I heard criticism from.
No, it was Dina. It was
she did a lot too?
It was Dina. She did a lot of it. And, I mean, Ellie criticized it, but, like, she was just mad at him for it.
For lying. Yeah.
For lying. But also, like, I just don't think it's written well where they have their last scene together where they're out on the porch near the end, where Joel never says why he saved her. He never says it, which would have been... It would have... I don't know if it would have fixed everything, but it would have helped. Whereas, like, they didn't give me a choice. They knocked me out. They took you to go away for surgery, and they were basically going to let you die for a fungal infection virus, which you can't put a vaccine for if it's already affecting everybody in the world. Like, it scientifically doesn't matter, but also it's video game universe, so you could take it with a grain of salt. They would have probably fixed the world. And so Joel's like, you're about to kill my daughter figure, who he lost a daughter at the beginning of the apocalypse. I'm not about to lose another one for you psychopaths. So I'm going to save her from you all because she matters. For the first time, I care about someone other than myself or Tommy. So I'm going to save her. He never brings that up in the final conversation. All he says is, yeah, I would do it all over again. And it's like, you're not understanding, like, they were going to kill you, Ellie. Like, they were going to kill you. And I know she would have been okay with that, but you have to look at it from Joel's perspective of, he never got the choice. They were just going to do it to him anyway.
So my counter
and they would have killed him.
Sorry, you finished.
No, I was done.
So my counter for that on the two front, for Joel's explanation, I do think he did tell her that they were going to kill her, didn't he? And she said, I thought he did.
No.
Not in that scene, I thought
he never brings it up. He never brings it up.
Did she not find out at some point that it would have killed her, though? I think she did find out it was the first scene.
If she found
wasn't
if
it,
she
wasn't
found
it the first scene
out,
when she found the hospital? I think it was when she found out he was lying. And I think he did say they were like, it was going to kill you. And then she said, well, maybe I should have died then because it could have done something. You.
But my point is that he never brought up saying that he never had a choice, and then you were never given a choice. So I did what I did.
So my counter,
they were never given a choice.
My counter to that was, LA's mad at him for, I think it's just Joel's maturity at this point where he knows Ellie's young and she's very angry at him for saving her life. And she's not really looking for explanations. If he tried to make excuses for it, even if he was totally justified, we played through it. We know he's right. But if he tried explaining it, it sounds like just making excuses. So it's like, would it have made a difference to her? I don't think so.
What I'm getting at is the writing in this doesn't help him at all. It's especially in that last scene where he's just saying, I'm sorry, but I would just do it again. Where if he literally just said, they gave me no choice and I wasn't going to lose you, that I would have been fine with it. But all he really does is just apologize, and he becomes almost a villain in her eyes in that last scene.
Well, see, but that's exactly what I mean. You say you left me no choice. There's always a choice. That's just an excuse. He didn't have to save her. He didn't have to kill the doctors. He didn't have to lie to her. There were choices. He just made the one he thought was best. So there's really, and if she already disagrees with his decision, there's really... He made his decisions, and he has to live with the consequences. Explaining it any further isn't really going to change things. It's can they move forward is the real question. My other counterpoint to you for Dina was, to me, this game is about Ellie's perspective. The first game is all about Joel. We saw how it went down for him. We know why he did what he did and why he did it. We saw how it all played out. Ellie did not. So Ellie and Dina voicing their concerns, to me, that's not the game saying Joel was wrong outright. This is how you should think about it, audience. That's to me that the game saying, this is how these characters see it. They don't have all the information. This is how Dina and Ellie think about this situation, maybe upon reflection. They don't really know what was going through Joel's mind, but we as the audience, we're the in-between. We understand, we're playing as Ellie now. We understand why she feels betrayed and lied to by Joel. But we also played through the first game ourselves, and we know why Joel lied to her. And the truth is honestly somewhere in the middle. And we as the audience get to make that decision. Ellie is probably more mad than she ought to be, because we know how Joel felt. But we also know Joel probably shouldn't have lied to her. So we know how Joel feels, we know how Ellie feels, and it's our decision to say who was really right. But they're allowed to feel how they want to feel. It doesn't have to glorify Joel's decision for our sake, because we know what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that's how I saw that. It's not Joel is objectively wrong, it's just the characters think he's wrong, but we don't have to.
No, I know that, but like the part of me hates that, because why do we, the audience, know better and know more than the actual characters themselves? And now the characters are trying to throw criticisms in one of the most beloved characters to come across gaming in the past decade. And I understand...
That's the problem with being omniscient. We know more than they do.
But we do.
I know.
So why are they bringing up... Like, that's my whole point. We do know better.
But that's just how stories work.
My whole problem with this story is I understand their story points. If you put it in a linear story, it works fine enough, and in a realistic world, it would probably end up this way. My whole problem with this story is, why did they have to execute it this way? Was it for shock factor? Did they really just want to tell a complex story, but it's weirdly out of order? Did they want to do something did the creator want to do it for shock factor to mix things up? Yeah. And I just feel like how it's to me, it's not what you say. Like, I don't know whose like original quote is. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. And the way this story was executed for me, I just found really disrespectful from what the first game is.
So I think, to me, one of the best defenses I've ever seen of this, and I don't have the quotes per se, was a YouTube channel called
paraphrase.
It's a YouTube channel called Girlfriend Reviews, and they did fantastic in defense of this game.
That's a great channel name.
It's fantastic. Basically, the concept of the channel is the guy. Plays
that's
video
like
games.
I play it and my girlfriend reviews it. Is that what it is?
No,
I think I've seen that.
Well, yeah, he plays the games and she narrates the videos, and it's basically reviews of video games from Backseat Gamers. Like, can you enjoy watching these games?
I think I've seen that. Yeah, and I think I've seen those too.
They're very entertaining. They're very well written. So they did one for Last of Us Part 2, and in that they were talking basically about how the idea of Last of Us Part 2, so far as they could tell, is it's all about empathy. They said that the real game isn't what you're playing through. It's not the revenge quest. It's not you trying to kill Abby and killing all these people in Seattle to get to her and then just letting her go in the end. Like, that's not the real challenge of the game. The real challenge of the game is about empathy and forgiveness. The beginning of the game is this person we don't know kills Joel. We sympathize with Ellie. We know why she's doing what she's doing. We kill a whole bunch of people in Seattle to get to Abby. And then the game throws the curveball and makes you play as Abby. And they know right up front you're going to hate playing as Abby. This is the woman who killed Joel. We hate this woman. But the idea of the game is, can you play through Abby's half of the story, see her side of things, and take ourselves out of Ellie's mind for a moment? Can we, with the knowledge of another person's life, learn to empathize with them? This person has wronged Ellie, and they wronged us, the audience, by extension. We love Joel, too. But now that we see things from her perspective, it's like you said, we know things the characters don't know. Ellie doesn't know Abby's life. She doesn't know what Abby's been through or why she does what she does. She just knows this is the woman who killed Joel. But we play through Abby's perspective, and the real challenge is, after we're done playing in her shoes, can we forgive Abby? Can we see her as an individual person who's got her own motivations? And of course she's wrong to kill Joel, but can we understand it? Do we still have that same bloodlust? Or are we just like Ellie, consumed by revenge no matter what, and only at the end still want to kill her, even though we know her now. We have both sides of the story. And Girlfriend Reviews basically says you kind of lose the game if you get to the very end and you still have that bloodlust. Because then it's basically you didn't learn anything. You lost the lesson in empathy. And you fell into the trap of revenge and bloodlust that screws over Ellie in the end. She had the happy life with Dina. She could have stopped. She could have let Abby go. But she went back to California. She went for no good reason, really. And she ended up losing both her fingers in the fight. Came back, Dina's gone. Her revenge quest made Ellie lose everything. And it didn't have to. But it's because she kept pursuing it. Abby let things go. She had a relationship with Lev. She was going to kill Dina and Ellie, like you said, when she had the chance. But Lev talked her down. The relationship she formed helped talk her down from a moment she couldn't have come back from. She let Ellie live. She let her go. She said,
Lev talked her down after she killed Jesse and took a shot at Tommy, which everybody thought Tommy died right there. So that's after playing 10 hours of forced empathy on this character right after, and then right there, she kills another favorite character. So all that empathy for me goes straight out the window. And I just, before we get too far into this, did some of the audience get trapped in the concept of bloodlust and revenge? Or did people, and this is just a question, I'm not accusing her or you of anything, or did people who enjoy it get caught in empathizing and what I feel is forced empathy towards a certain character? I don't believe that this story itself is terrible. I believe the way it's structured is wrong. So, again, sorry, finish your point before I even go on the tangent.
Yeah, well, basically my point was that the truth really lies in the middle. The game's not trying to tell you Abby was right to kill Joel. It's trying to say she had a reason. This is why she did it. Take it for what you will. But it also says Ellie had a reason to want to kill Abby. She did all these things in pursuit of it as well. Maybe she was right for it. Maybe she wasn't. Take it as you will. Do you feel good killing all these people in Seattle? Do you, as Abby, feel any satisfaction at the end of her story after having killed Joel and gone through it? Abby got her revenge, and she didn't really feel any better for it. She still felt as shitty as she did before she killed Joel. It didn't bring her any peace. And that's why at the end, Ellie let Abby go, because she had her under the water. She was killing her. She could have killed her, but even then she realized it wouldn't bring her any... She realized it wouldn't bring her any peace. It didn't matter at that point. She had her where she wanted her, and she didn't feel better. So
I have so many problems with that ending.
So Ellie took the higher road in the end. Because even after all the bad things she's done, she realized that it was all going to be for nothing. She was trying to make amends for herself so she would feel better, but she knew she wouldn't. So she let her go, because in the end, she finally decided to just say, forget it. It's not worth what it's done to me. So I can live the rest of my life with a more clear conscience, at the very least. All the atrocities I've done, I'll still have done them, but at least I didn't go and do one more. And I think Abby's the same way. She did her atrocity, and she mostly moved on from it as best she could. These people are both traumatized. You've played through both their stories. Nobody gets a happy ending. But it's... yeah. But okay, I also don't... So I don't mind it. It's just depressing.
The fact that a game came out in, 2020, 2019, whatever this game 19. Came out, and there's so many games where you could do dialogue options and different endings and all that. The fact that, and I know they never did this in the past Last of Us or the whole game, but the fact that the gamers weren't even given a choice to let Abby go or to kill her, for me, was a missed opportunity.
That's interesting.
Because this is a character who killed Joel, took a shot at Tommy, left him blind in one eye, killed Jesse, beat Dina, who is your girlfriend, almost to death, almost beat you to death, effectively left you excommunicated from your home in Jackson because of, she's killed Joel and that left you to run away and leave with Dina, effectively possibly is the reason you split up your relationship with Dina. I don't know I can't remember what happens to Tommy at the end of the story. I don't know if he runs away or goes back to Jackson.
He goes back to Jackson, but he's too injured to go back to... So he ends up, I think, leaving Maria because his obsession with revenge makes him not fun to live with anymore.
And the fact that you're not even given the choice to kill Abby, to have two different... If they wanted to keep this ending, whatever. But the fact you didn't give a choice to kill Abby after going through a 25-hour-long game of just senseless violence, senseless killing of people, dogs, clickers, runners, the Rat King, cult members... and you don't kill the one person you hate the most in this game, I just feel is such a slap in the face. Because what did I play 25 hours for? To learn a lesson that revenge is bad? I know revenge is bad. But you took me on this journey about how we should sympathize with the villain of the story, and then when we get to the midpoint of the story, she continues to do evil shit to our favorite characters, and the fact that we're never allowed to take revenge on her, even though in the middle of the end fight I lose 2 fingers, I would have beaten her to fucking death.
But also you got to keep in mind here, you're just talking about the atrocities that Abby's done. Think about what Ellie's done to her. It started
That's my
off
whole point.
Ellie's
done so much shit to get to this point, and the fact that she doesn't kill him kill her. Sorry.
So that's why I don't necessarily feel bad for, of course I feel bad that she crippled Tommy and shot and killed Jesse, but also at this point in the story, if you look at it like a flow chart, it's like Joel killed Abby's father. Okay, so Abby kills Joel.
Have you seen before you go further? Have you seen when The Last of Us Part 1 came out? Someone did a compilation of using every gun and flamethrower and whatever in the game to kill the doctor, because they're after playing Last of Us Part 2, and it's just a compilation of them killing the doctor in so many different ways.
That's funny.
Yeah,
but yeah,
because after knowing who the doctor is,
so Joel kills the doctor. The doctor's daughter kills Joel. Ellie goes to Seattle, murders most of the WLF, most of Abby's friends, and even tortures them at some point. It's so Abby killed one really important person. Joel killed someone important, Abby killed the person in retaliation. And then Ellie goes to Seattle and arguably over-retaliates in her revenge quest. She kills... It's not just a 1-for-1 at this point. Ellie kills basically everybody she loves. After this trip to Jackson, emotionally devastated Abby. She didn't get anything from it. it distanced her from Owen even more. Mel sees her as a monster now. She's lost some friends. She doesn't feel any better. And then this girl comes in and over retaliates. So then she goes and then she kills Jesse.
Well,
and wants to kill Dina.
So all Ellie wanted was Abby. She didn't have to kill all her friends, but the friends got in the way.
I know, but when you're saying, Abby seems monstrous for coming back and killing Jesse and Dina, it's like, oh wow, she's like, she killed Joel, and now she's gonna kill 2 more. That still doesn't, well, 3 more if you count Tommy. So she's trying to kill 3 more friends of Ellie's. But think of how many people Ellie's killed. Like, Ellie's killed way more than 3 of her friends that we've seen. The important ones.
But they're friends we don't give a shit about.
Yeah, but
I'm sorry, we don't care about him. And then that
Owen
midpoint of the story,
Owen's one of the best characters in the story.
You chase Ellie through the theater trying to shoot her and beat her up. I don't want to do that. As a person who loves this universe and loves this story, you know how many people I watch doing a playthrough literally put their controller down? Like, why am I fighting Ellie? Why am I not given the choice to either choose to fight as Ellie or choose to fight as Abby? Why do I have to play as the villain here? It would be like, God, I'm trying to even think of like a comparison. Like, imagine playing as fucking, okay, imagine, you don't even know Halo. Well, imagine playing as Master Chief for the whole time, and then you have this random elite soldier that comes up in the middle, at the very beginning of the story, and just kills Master Chief. And then throughout the story, you learn about the elite's, trauma and how Master Chief killed his race or whatever, and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, okay, I understand what you're going for, but because of what you're going for doesn't mean I have to accept and care for this person. Like, I understand fully why Abby killed Joel. I don't have a problem with that. My problem is how they executed the story. And I have a little thing here that I think would have made the story 10 times better, but I kind of want to save that for like a few minutes later because I feel like you have more points and
Sure.
I don't want to keep going.
No, I just want to counter that and say the story, I think, was, and this is definitely a criticism, but, well, this is another one of those, I don't know if it's a criticism or a plus things, but this story is designed to be controversial. It's like, it was never going to please anybody, and they were not trying to make a crowd pleaser, which I think is very interesting when you're talking about a sequel to, as we keep saying, one of the most acclaimed games ever made. They could have easily just done a cash grab sequel if that didn't try anything innovative or challenging or make you think at all. But they did this thing that's really divisive and gets people talking, and they had a creative vision in mind. They knew not everyone was going to love or even like, but I have to appreciate that they swung for the fences really hard with this one, and it landed with a lot of people. It's one of those things where I'm not satisfied with it, but I respect it. I respect that they tried to not take a conventional route that would have been satisfying to everybody. They went less than bittersweet with it. They didn't have to go as depressing as they did, but I appreciate that it wasn't. Yeah.
Respect is a strong word for me. And I can respect storytellers that try to do something different. But the way they did it here, I don't even find respectful. Because, once again, you're taking characters from a beloved masterpiece of a game, and you're effectively trying to make them the villain because you want to make it a complex world, and so you make us play as the villain in it. Her reason for it, like, oh, it turns out their dad was the doctor, and it's like, okay, well, your doctor dad was trying to murder Ellie, but let's just forget about that. So you play this 10 hours for Abby, but it's set in present, and the reason you can't find Abby is because she's off with this cult boy, which is a really strange part in the game where you're just kind of like, okay, sure, go for it. But I just feel no motivation to play Abby at this point. Like, I'm sorry, I don't. Especially after she shoots Jesse and is about to cap Ellie. But yeah,
I'm just curious how this game would play if somebody were to mod it and put it in a different order. Say, for example, you played through Ellie's story first. You killed Joel.
That was going to be my whole.
Yeah.
That was going to be my whole point. So
you kill Joel, play through Ellie's story first.
This story could have worked if... Here's how I would have story structured it. Ellie is off. Ellie and Joel, maybe even the opening scene is Ellie and Joel having their last, fight or their last talk on the porch, whatever you want to do that. You structure it. It doesn't have to be the same exact scene. You can even structure where he confronts him, like, why did you do that? And so maybe she runs off. She runs away, really far away. And turns out she gets run up by the horde or whatever. She gets lost, like, really far away. And she runs into Abby. And you can, maybe if you want to, flip-flop between Abby and Ellie at certain points. Just for different sections. Maybe there's a section where you have to face a horde and you have to play as Abby because she has all the best weapons. But then you have to play as Ellie and you sneak around and, you're trying to get through. You can even use the cult if you want to, trying to get through the cult. And you have these two start to share bonds, almost like a sister-sister relationship. You have them grow together as characters and learn to trust each other because they both don't trust a lot of people. And you can even have them interact with different people if you want to. And then eventually, I'm just rushing through this because I can't do like a whole pitch in 15 minutes. And eventually, because obviously Joel and Tommy would go after Ellie. And then eventually you have, like, they would be like little story beats too, where Ellie's like, oh, why are you all the way out here? It's like Abby just like, oh, I'm looking for someone. And she doesn't want to fully say who it is or what she's looking for. And then when they finally see Joel, Abby can be like, that's the fucking guy I'm looking for. Shoots him in the leg or whatever. Ellie's confused and doesn't really know what to do. Maybe some of Abby's friends are there and is holding her back. She goes through her whole monologue about what Joel did and then it becomes the revenge thing of now Abby's running away. Ellie's chasing after her. This doesn't have to be like the ending, but it could be even the midpoint or even a little like the climax of it where Ellie now has to kill a few of her friends. Abby's still running away. They have their final confrontation, and then you're given the choice whether or not you want to kill Abby or not. I'm fine with stories not being linear like this one, but you have to structure it well because, like you said, they swung for the fences and they knew they were going to be controversial with it. That's not a good thing in my eyes. It's not a good thing in my eyes where, if you know you're going to be controversial, I don't think so. If you know you're going to piss off, your fans, that's not a good thing. Look what happened with, I don't know, the Justice League and all those changes. They knew they were going to piss off fans, but they chose to do it that way anyway.
Yep.
So, and to me, that tells, my pitch, I'm not patting myself on the back, but to me, you could tell a much more compelling story with that, where you could actually sympathize with Abby a bit, where she talks with Ellie about how her father died and this crazy man came and killed her. And then later you found out, it's like, oh, you were the girl we were supposed to save. And it's just, where can you go from there? Instead of it being like, here, we're introduced to this character, she kills Joel right away, and then we try to track her down as Ellie. Abby shows up in the midpoint, kills Jesse, tries to kill Tommy. Then we have to play as Abby for 10 hours and sympathize for someone who's killing our favorite characters. And then near the end of her of playing as her, we're trying to kill Ellie. Don't like that at all. And then near the end, we can't kill Abby whatsoever.
Yeah, I definitely see what you're saying there. And, For me, when it comes to the swinging for the fences thing, I think it's very dependent on the characters is where I come from. I think, to me, the main question is, no matter what the story is, do you believe the characters would do this? And I did. I didn't necessarily like the story they were telling, but I believed that in this situation, these characters would do what they did. The structure of it is up for debate. Like you said, I understand why you didn't like that and why it was controversial. But when it comes to this particular story, that's, for example, I don't want to get on this tangent. I do it enough. But it's why I don't like The Last Jedi, because I don't feel like it's very similar to me going back to The Last Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it's The Last Jedi of the video game world. To me, this story works because, while it's unsatisfying, I also believe the characters would do this. So it feels like a natural conclusion, even if it's not a happy ending that leaves you feeling good inside. Whereas The Last Jedi feels very, okay, you changed characters from the originals, even The Force Awakens. You changed characters to do the story you wanted to tell. I don't feel like the characters from past movies would do this. I feel like Rian Johnson wanted this to happen and he made it happen. So, like, that movie swung for the fences too, but it didn't feel as believable. So, I respect wanting to do crazy things, but it's got to feel natural. And The Last of Us did, but it's, like I said, it's not...
A bit of a counterpoint to that was, well, in The Last Jedi, they didn't have Kylo Ren kill Luke Skywalker at the very beginning, then have you sympathize with Kylo Ren for the entire movie.
May as well.
There's that point.
Yeah.
Might have, yeah. But it's just, I understand the story that they wanted to tell, but it's just
how they told it.
It all comes down to why. Why do you want me to care so much about Abby? Why do you want me to care so much about a doctor who was going to kill Ellie for a vaccine that may or may not have worked? Why do you want me to care so much about the group that was thrown out of the Fireflies, that turned themselves into the Wolves, that kind of more of a bit of a terrorist group in some lights? Instead of me caring about and bringing more character development for Joel and Ellie, you could have made a second game where they're running Jackson together and Ellie finds out the truth, and then they have to split off, or even the town takes sides in what happens, and you think, is something going to be fucked up? And then maybe even and no one's really paying attention outside because there's so much conflict in the city. And then a horde shows up in Jackson, and you have to fight. Imagine being in Jackson and you're fighting off a horde, and then you have to split off from Ellie and Joel, and they're by themselves. Maybe Ellie is with Dina, Joel is with Tommy, and they're both trying to find each other and either, stop the conflict, or Ellie might want to continue the conflict. I think even that could be a great game. Why did you have to introduce a new character just to kill off one of the most beloved characters ever, and then try to make me sympathize with that character? To me,
I'll tell you the main
it doesn't
reason
make
for my
sense.
mind. The main reason for my mind is I hear what you're saying with your pitches, and they do sound like interesting games. But listening to you talking about them, what I think they're missing is a very strong emotional reason to want to. Like, for example, when your first pitch with Abby and Ellie doing stuff together and kind of building a partnership before you find out that Abby and Joel have a history. It's kind of like, well, while you're playing that, what's the emotional reason for us to care about this journey? On the original, it was about this father-daughter relationship. We saw his daughter get killed at the beginning. We wanted to see him bond with this new daughter figure. In this one, the inciting incident is, okay, Joel's murdered. That's a really traumatic, emotional thing to get the audience hooked. It gets the momentum going. it's a real strong emotional hook for a story, one way or the other. It's one that pisses people off, mind you, but it's a very strong emotional hook. And the stories you're suggesting sound like more satisfying games, but they also lack a sense of urgency. Or, like, why do I really care about this? Like, stuff is happening. It's expanding the world. We're getting more time with these characters we love. But what about these makes me really care? This revenge story is controversial.
What about this game makes me care about Abby?
Well, that's a later problem.
What about this game makes me care about Abby?
That's a later problem. That's on their execution. I'm just talking right off the hop. The death of Joel is a compelling start for a game. It gets you pretty okay, so this is what we're doing, and I want revenge.
I get what you're saying, like it's compelling and it's shocking and it is a good driving force, but you come from one of the most well-crafted stories of all time in terms of gaming, and then the sequel is just a basic revenge quest. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
And it just kind of, you're just like, okay, I guess I'm going on this revenge quest with Ellie and Dina. And then halfway through, no, it's not a revenge quest.
Yep.
So, like, again, like, if I had more time, I would, and I know you're not, like, fully criticizing it, but if I had more time, there'd definitely be more of an inciting incident for, my version of The Last of Us Part 2, but...
Yeah, I'm just saying, based on what
It's going to be interesting. I'm very interesting. Yeah. I'm going to be very interested to see... I mean, maybe even, like, the Horde shows up and fucking at the beginning of, like, my version of Last of Us Part 2. I don't know. I just found this out now. Like, fighting the Horde in the town of Jackson, I think would be really cool.
That would be cool.
I'm very interested to see...
Like, if all of Jackson got decimated and then it's like, where do we go next? That's a compelling, inciting incident.
Yeah.
It's just as depressing.
I'm very interested to see in the show... how far they go because of the controversy of this game. And depending on how successful this show is, like, do you think the ending of the show is going to be the ending of the first game?
I think there's two options, personally.
Like, for the first seasons? Yeah.
What I think they're going to do, if they were smart, I wouldn't expect this show to get multiple seasons. I think that's a gamble that I would not want them to take. I don't want them to end off on cliffhangers. What I'd like to see them do, Season 1 should end where the first game ended. It should just be the story of the first game. That way, if they don't get another season, we have the complete story. Or a complete story. Season 2. Problem with Season 2 is that the actress you got playing Ellie is not going to be old enough to play Ellie in Last of Us Part 2. But Last of Us Part 2 is littered with all these flashbacks.
Unless you wait a few years.
Yeah, so Last of Us Part 2 is littered with all these flashbacks about what happens between the first and second games. So if you're going to make a Season 2 of The Last of Us, maybe tell the story of those flashbacks. Introduce Abby early on, so you can, so you're seeing Joel and Ellie's continued adventures, and then you have Abby as the new character in the show to shake things up, and maybe drag that out for a couple years, and then adapt The Last of Us Part 2 for maybe Season 4. Or something.
Apparently, the show is going to have 9 episodes.
Yeah, that's about long enough.
For the first season. Mm-hmm.
Well, the game was only,
very interested to see that.
It was like 13 hours or so?
I think, yeah, somewhere between 13 and 15 or something like that.
So they're about right for a show.
Oh, we never talked about the DLC for, like, Ellie and Riley. That was decently well done, too. Yeah, it gave more story to Ellie.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically set up her whole relationship with Dina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's because the game did so well that they wanted to pump out like a DLC because people love the story so well.
Yeah.
I was like, what could we tell? Oh, the part where Joel's knocked out. What did Ellie do? Scavenge.
Which is interesting. What do you think of Ellie and Dina? I'm also kind of on because until the very ending, they didn't really have any. They're just so perfect all the time. I'm like, you're kind of boring together.
The writing's not like super great with them, and I've heard a few people in the, I don't know, like what the criticisms are. They just don't like it, but in the LGBTQ community, say like their dialogue is very cringy together. I guess well, the flirting or whatever.
There was a
I don't know what the criticisms are, but
there's a hilarious scene though when they're wandering through Seattle together, and they went to this bookstore in one part, and like I don't know Seattle very well, but apparently this is a specific area of Seattle,
right.
and this is like a specific place. So they're going through the bookstore, and I think it's like an LGBTQ plus community area of Seattle, and then they walk out of the store together, and they're like, "What's with all the rainbows everywhere?"
That's funny. I don't remember that part. But yeah,
you probably didn't go into the store. It's like it's just a place you can wander into if you're wandering around.
I thought I went into every store that I could there. But
no, if you just wander around the bookstore and like find it's an optional dialogue option. I just thought that was a funny one.
Yeah, I think I remember the bookstore. But yeah, it's just with my problem with Dina is that it's just constant criticism of Joel, and I don't think she ever talks positive about Joel. I'm being dead serious, because it just kind of makes me feel like the writers are constantly trying to make you feel bad about the events of the first game, and to me that's disrespectful. And then also near the ending where, hey, this woman almost killed the girl you're in love with, almost killed you, which almost effectively killed your child, which I don't know how, if I was a mother, I would feel something different than she did. Blinded Tommy and effectively crippled him. They have a chance for revenge, and you tell Ellie, whose father figure has been murdered by Abby, and the father of your child has been murdered by Abby, saying, if you go after her, I will not be here anymore. In an apocalypse, where the fuck else are you going to go? That to me was just kind of just adding drama for the sake of drama. And I don't think that part was written very well.
Yeah, but I also get why she left in the end. It's like, well, you're just same reason Maria left Tommy. You're just obsessed with revenge. You're going to leave your family. You don't have to go anywhere. It's a pretty rough world out there. You got it fine here. So why do you want to risk your life again? You're already traumatized. I get it, but enough. The first time
she barely supports Ellie throughout the whole game. Like, she's there physically, but she's constantly
Ellie and
berating her at the same time.
And Dina to me are just a relationship that's like, okay, you're really attracted to each other, but you're not really good for each other.
Like, I thought Ellie and Jesse would have been a good couple.
Yeah, if she was,
because they have just better written dialogue.
I was gonna say, like, she had
dialogue.
Like, if she wasn't, like, if Ellie wasn't a lesbian, she has better chemistry with Jesse. You're right. You're right about that.
I mean, you could even work in my pitch. You could even work that out in if Abby and Ellie hung out a lot. Where is Ellie falling in love with Abby, which would have been weird, or not falling in love, but they're starting to be attracted to each other.
Yeah, why didn't you write Dina like Jesse? Then I would have bought that relationship.
Exactly. Like, some of their early scenes are good, I find, when they're
going on patrol together.
Lookouts together. Yeah. That was good scene, but just the rest of it just kind of, because that's my main problem with this game, because I can't get past this one section while playing it. It's just, I have no motivation to beat it. I just don't have motivation. Not because I know how it ends. It's just...
It's hard to get through.
It's just hard, man. Like... And if there is a Last of Us Part 3, which probably will be, because it's one of the most successful gaming franchises out there, where are you going to go from here?
Well, they also said the same thing about the end of Part 1. People didn't... When Part 2 was announced, they're like, but what could they do with it? Yeah. I don't know where they're going to go for Part 3 either, but I think it could be interesting. Ellie's, for the first time since the first game, she's on her own now. Dina's gone. She's not going back to Jackson. Joel's dead. She let,
I'm telling you, if someone cut off my 2 guitar fingers, that person be dead. In the apocalypse? My one friend had a funny criticism when the trailers came out where he said, who the fuck tattooed her? Like, in the apocalypse. It was the one thing he kept complaining about. I was like, I don't understand where the tattoos come from.
Well, if they can...
There's someone in Jackson, obviously, but you really kept a tattoo gun?
They still watch movies and junk. They can do tattoos.
That's true.
Ellie was talking about how she watched movies with
there's
Joel.
small details. Yeah, I do like how there's small details, like in Ellie's little apartment. She has like her PS3. I think that's pretty cool because she's a gamer. There's another thing too, where she sneaks up on the one chick and she has a PSP. Ellie doesn't pick it up. She's a gamer. She's a nerd. She'd pick that shit up instantly.
One thing I love about The Last of Us Part 2, especially because it's set further down the timeline, is how when you go into all the apartments and everything, all the technology and posters and media is all circa 2013. Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Which is just a blast from the past for me. I love that. Like you said, you mentioned the PS3. I'm like, yeah, that was the console. That's what we had.
If we again, we don't really do ratings on this podcast, but if I were to give The Last of Us Part 2, like Part 1 obviously is a 10 out of 10, but Part 2 to me, just because of how much I disagree with the story, is a 6 out of 10. Everything else, phenomenal. Gameplay, level design, graphics, the realism of it all. It's all great. It's an above average game for me.
On a technical level, it's basically as good as it gets in terms of gameplay, graphics, mechanics, AI.
The AI is phenomenal.
World design, like we said, with the apartments, the locations, just Seattle in general. It's all like on a technical level. The production in this game is the motion capture, acting as well, performances. It's all masterclass in production value for video games. The story is just it's love it or hate it. I agree with you that it's hard to get through. The story is hard to get through. It's you have to really push yourself to get through, which once again is kind of the point, but it's also a weird point to try for as a creator.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna steal from my movie ratings and just say it's worth a play, just to experience once.
Yeah, I'd still say it's like worth a play, and then you like, because I don't ever want to stop someone from watching something unless it's absolutely tragic and terrible. Yeah.
It's just too dour for me.
I think this game itself, I think is worth a play, and then you make your own. What am I saying? You have your own thoughts on it.
Yeah, then you just play part 1 again. There. Then you just play part 1 again.
Yeah, just play part.
You never need to play part 2 again. Part 2 is just like, yeah, this is what, like, yeah, part 1's great, and oh yeah, there is more. I'm just gonna warn you in advance. It's a traumatizing experience, and you're gonna feel very strongly one way or the other
really
about this
strange.
Game. You can do that. It's there if you want it. But maybe just play.
It's really
part 1
strange
again.
when the Part 1 remake came out, because the newer one, because they look like the characters from Part 2, even more so, because they use modern technology, right? So they've upped the graphics in that. But a part of me just loves the 2013 graphics, like their character design more.
It's
nostalgic. Don't know why. Yeah, it's nostalgic.
That's just how they look.
Especially, and people did like side by side comparisons with the one scene with Ellie and Joel in the house when she runs away and she's like, I've lost people too. They did a side-by-side comparison and all the comments are like, old one's better. Even though like the face capture is like and technically wise is better. I just think I don't know. I just like the older character designs a bit more, but I love how they went back and remastered it. I don't like how it's full price, but I like how it's
If Last of Us Part 3 comes out, I will play it. I'm curious what they'll do. I feel like if it's a trilogy...
I'll play it too.
I feel like if it's a trilogy, this one has to be a bit lighter in tone. I feel like Last of Us Part 2 might look better in retrospect if the trilogy can stick the landing, because then we can say that it's the Empire Strikes Back of the trilogy. It's Ellie's lowest point. This is when things get, like when shit gets serious. This is where it's the most dour and depressing one, the most emotionally complex, and then the third one brightens it up again, because that's my main thing about part 2 is it's just
they should wait 20 years like Godfather.
Yeah,
because it was part 1 then part 2, and then like 20 years later was part 3,
or just do another like 6 or 10.
I don't think part 3 in Godfather was that bad, but it's such a drag.
It's
It is
the
quite
worst.
a drag.
The fact that it's the worst of the trilogy doesn't mean it's a bad movie. It's still
It's different.
it's a great movie, and it's just not as great as the first two. The first two are masterpieces, and the third is just pretty good.
Yeah. I think that's what people were. And the fact that they came back to do it 20 years later is crazy.
I want to see the...
Or like 15.
I want to see the re-release version, though. They called it... okay, well, the title's a spoiler for it, so just skip ahead like 10 seconds. But they call it The Death of Michael Corleone, The Godfather Coda.
Like they're doing a release of part 3?
Well, they already released it. Francis Ford Coppola re-edited the movie.
Right.
He
to have Michael die at the very beginning?
No, well, he re-edited the movie. He used different takes from the original footage.
Oh,
he went back and changed a lot, and he retitled the movie "The Death of Michael Corleone: The Godfather Coda," because The Godfather because in his mind, The Godfather Part 3 was it's promising too much. It's like The Godfather 1 and 2 are the story, and Part 3 was always really more of an epilogue, like what happened to Michael Corleone later in life.
Yeah.
But to call it
Which
The Godfather...
one you like better, Part 1 or 2?
I'm more of a one-man myself.
It's tough because they're both so different, but both so great.
I'm a one-man, personally.
I think 1 for me because of Marlon Brando, but Part 2 I love more because of... De Niro, and also Al Pacino gets a little bit more to do. But Part 1 is just... Also, I don't know if you've watched the show, but the show The Offer, where it tells the story of how The Godfather...
I heard about it.
Almost didn't get made, and I heard of good things.
I heard mixed things.
I've heard good things and bad things. Yeah. I've heard good things and bad things.
But yeah,
I've heard the acting in it, though, was very good.
But yeah, it's not The Godfather Part 3 anymore. It's just... Yeah, Godfather Part 1 and 2 is the story, and then there's the epilogue. But we've already gone way over time. You don't want to hear about The Godfather. You're here for Last of Us.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's...
I think, what are you looking for in the show? I don't want like a 1-for-1 recreation, but it does look like they're going to do some of the iconic scenes, but I don't want a 1-for-1. You know what I mean?
I'm just looking for a faithful adaptation. I don't need to see 1-for-1 scenes or recreated dialogue.
Don't Assassin's Creed it. Don't Assassin's Creed it.
I don't need that. I just need a good Last of Us story. Follows closely enough. Just make a good adaptation. Don't make a completely different thing and call it The Last of Us. But don't make it verbatim either. Otherwise, why are we doing it in the first place? Just play the game.
I saw a review of Assassin's Creed the movie where it was, this is the best video game adaptation that there's been, but this movie's still garbage. Like, that's how bad adaptations have been.
I still need to see it. I heard there was a great stunt where they did the jump off the...
The assassin stuff is great. But the modern day stuff, you're like...
Yeah, so it's like the game.
It's almost half and half, and it's like, why are we doing this?
Anyway. Well, let's wrap her up.
But yeah, I'm looking for I'm excited to see what they do with the clickers, because the marketing, they've only shown the one shot, and it looks phenomenal.
Okay,
so I'm wondering if it's more practical, or we'll probably do a full season review. We're not going to do like episode by episode.
Yeah, come back to Close Up in like 2 months. We'll get an episode for you.
Yeah, we'll find a way.
Watch us in the meantime, please. But
we have no ideas left, but we'll watch us in the meantime. January's
kind of a dead month for movies, but
which kind of sucks, yeah. But we'll be doing stuff.
Yeah.
February is going to kick off with a lot of stuff. We can't do Last of Us, Joe. We have to go watch Ant-Man.
This might be the year Marvel
kills you. It might be the year Marvel.
It might be the year. It might be the year.
I think
after Guardians, I might be done. I don't know. Like Guardians.
Oh yeah, Guardians comes out this year.
Guardians and Daredevil are basically the only things keeping me around now.
I'm really excited for Spider-Man though. Across the Universe.
Oh yeah, Spider-Man. Well,
that's in June though.
That's a Sony movie though. That's not MCU. So
that's true. I'm so pumped for that though.
I'm
there's
like
20 different I hope there's 20 different
Spider-Men and women.
Like thousands different Spider-Mans. People have already done like deep dives into it, but I don't really want to see. Like I don't want to see those because I feel like those are kind of spoilery.
Yeah. Okay, let's wrap her up. We've gone very long.
All right, well, you can find me at Ryan Walker Official on Instagram and on TikTok, and on the YouTube channel, Ryan Walker.
You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at ThoughtPlay Media. Also, check out the Close Up with Ryan and Joe Facebook page for latest updates on the show. If you listen to us in audio, check out our YouTube channel. And if you're on YouTube, find us anywhere you get your favorite podcasts. Also, be sure to leave us comments and reviews, as that's a big help. And how about clicking that like button or sharing if you enjoyed this? We hope to see you on the next Close Up with Ryan and Joe. Till next time.
Take care.